welcome back to our channel. In what seemed like a tranquil moment of an ordinary evening, when everything outside was covered by a fragile silence, inside was hiding a storm that no one could have foreseen. Nicole stepped into Leslie's house with an inexplicable urge. She gave no prior notice, sent no message, just silently drove there, weighed down by emotions so heavy that even she herself could not understand why she chose that precise moment to confront it all. The dim light in the living room shone through the slightly open door like a strange signal, pushing her to enter. But when the door swung gently open, the sight that struck Nicole was nothing less than a sharp blade slicing straight through her heart, already burdened with unease. Ted, the man she had trusted with all her soul, the harbor she had believed she could cling to for life, was wrapping his arms around Leslie. Their eyes locked in an intimacy so raw, so undeniable, that it obliterated any excuse or deception. In an instant, every foundation of trust, every memory of happiness Nicole had painstakingly preserved over the years, collapsed like a sandcastle swept away by a violent tide. She did not merely see an embrace, she saw a naked truth. Ted had deceived her, Leslie had betrayed her, and she, Nicole, was left with nothing but a hollow shell and searing anguish. Her breath came in ragged bursts, her trembling hands gripped by fury as she swept the crystal vase from the table, sending it shattering across the floor. The piercing sound of glass exploding into fragments echoed through every corner of the house, tearing apart the false veil the two betrayers had tried to weave. Ted and Leslie froze, their faces pale, eyes wide like criminals caught in the act. Nicole stood there, her eyes bloodshot, tears mingling with rage, her voice trembling but laden with venom. It was not the complaint of a jealous wife, but the howl of a soul utterly destroyed. That unbearable pain quickly transformed into frenzy, an eruption of dark energy shaking her body to its core. She hurled herself at Leslie not only to demand the truth but to rip apart the mask of pretense from someone she once called a friend. Ted panicked, scrambling to intervene, but in that moment every secret, every lie lay bare under the harsh light of reality. From that night onward, a chain of tragedies began, unstoppable, threatening not only to break Nicole but to drag the entire Dupree family into ruin. Nicole had once been a strong woman, someone who endured hardships to build what seemed like a perfect life with Ted. She had sacrificed, stepped back, silenced her own desires to preserve the family, to allow Ted to focus on his ambitions. But that sacrifice now revealed itself as nothing but a cruel farce, when the man she trusted with everything betrayed her with each touch, each gaze. Nicole felt her blood boil, not only from Ted's betrayal but from the double-edged wound Leslie had driven straight into her. Leslie was no stranger, but a friend who had shared years of memories, someone who once held Nicole's confidences. That betrayal was not only merciless, it was humiliating, stripping Nicole of dignity and leaving her mocked within the story of her own life. Yet Nicole did not collapse entirely that night. The fury tore her apart, but when the door shut behind her, when she stepped out of that house stained with sin, a cold emptiness spread through her. In the darkness, she realized that her pain would never be soothed by tears alone. She had lost everything: trust, love, the safety of a family. And in that loss, something else began to form: the slow, burning fire of vengeance. The days that followed were a torment of fear for Ted. He scrambled for ways to soothe Nicole, but his lies no longer had any ground to stand on. His explanations, his pleading eyes, only deepened her contempt. Nicole now saw that Ted had not merely betrayed their love, but had violated the very principles they once built together. Each glance Ted gave her no longer carried affection, but only the quiver of fear, the desperate attempt to shield the fragile illusion of Dupree honor. Leslie, meanwhile, drowned in guilt and dread. She could no longer bear to face Nicole, could not meet those eyes ablaze with fury. Yet her silence, her avoidance, only convinced Nicole further. Neither of them truly repented, they only sought to hide. In that collapse, Nicole began to change. The pain that once dragged her into the abyss now gave rise to another self, colder, sharper, more determined. She was no longer the woman sobbing in the dark, but a figure holding an invisible blade capable of severing every bond. Nicole began to plot, to watch, to uncover every crack in the illicit relationship between Ted and Leslie. She no longer stormed at them in rage, but quietly gathered each detail, every clandestine meeting, every careless glance. From these fragments she built a portrait of betrayal so undeniable that once exposed, it would leave no room for denial. But Nicole's vengeance was not the blind fury of madness, it was calculated with chilling clarity. She understood that once the truth came to light, not only Ted and Leslie would fall, but the entire Dupree family would crumble. And in that realization, Nicole faced herself once again. Was she willing to destroy everything around her, to scorch earth and ash, just to silence her personal pain? Or would she find another way to ensure the betrayers paid their price? That inner conflict was the cruelest tragedy of all. Ted soon realized Nicole was no longer the woman he once knew, and that terrified him more than anything. He lived under the shadow of her silence, uncertain when she might strike, unsure if his career, his reputation, or his family would survive. Leslie withered in guilt, yet guilt alone offered no salvation, only deeper torment. Nicole observed it all with eyes stripped of tears, hollow and cold. She knew the day would come when she would end it, and when that moment arrived, forgiveness would have no place. The story of these three was not merely a tragedy of love betrayed, but a mirror reflecting the fragility of trust, of happiness once thought secure. Nicole, once the victim, had transformed into the wielder of final power, the power born of suffering. And in the end, one would see that betrayal not only shatters a heart, it can incinerate an entire family. A tragedy once unleashed spares no one, not Ted, not Leslie, and not even Nicole. Follow and subscribe to our channel to witness more shocking and dramatic turns in this story.